What can we expect from this transfer portal quarterback class? We did the segment on the first-year starting quarterbacks on our last show, but let's attack our expectations for transfer portal quarterbacks here in 2025. I want to start with John Mateer at Oklahoma, transferring over from Washington State. Let's get the obvious out of the way. I have a very open affection for a one John Mateer. Yes, it's the lettuce. Yes, it's the swag. Yes, it's the transferring from a smaller school of sorts optically to the SEC and playing for Oklahoma, the mobility, all that, the play style, all that aside. I'm expecting John Mateer to just make Oklahoma a problem again, dude. Didn't it feel weird 2 of the last 3 years seeing Oklahoma be a 6-win football team with that logo? And I don't have any skin in the game. I'm not an Oklahoma fan. Didn't grow up in Oklahoma. Never been a Norman. I'm sure it's wonderful. But Oklahoma, not a team that's supposed to be fighting to make a bowl game. That's not their MO. I'm expecting Oklahoma, even with their schedule being as brutal as it is, and it's tough now. We just finished the Squid Games. Both myself and Caden Smith independently watched it. Oklahoma's schedule is the equivalent of the Squid Games. John Mateer, what he brings to the table, he's just hard to game plan for in general because you got the mobility. A guy was darn near a 1,000-yard rusher a year ago. He's great downfield with how they run this offense under Ben Arbuckle. They go up tempo, they take shots, all those things. But even if you do game plan correctly for him, the playmaking ability, what he does when the play breaks down, he can then break the game plan that you have even if your game plan is correct. On top of that, he's going to elevate everyone's level of play because if you got to account for John Mateer's legs, guess what? A lot harder to account for Jade Knott in the backfield. A lot harder to account for Deion Burks getting behind your safety. I mean, just all of this offense, I think, builds upon his skill set. So I think he's going to ball out this year. I also love that the intangibles he brings for Oklahoma. Like, in addition to him, bringing something from the on-the-field perspective, we've said this a lot, though. I expect him to bring the swag back to Oklahoma, man. Listen, dogs travel in packs. And when you got John Mateer leading the charge and being that alpha dog in the locker room, bringing the confidence, bringing the juice, it's infectious. If I trust number 10 who touches the football every single snap for us in Norman, and I'm a receiver or I'm a linebacker or I'm a safety, I'm a whoever I am, I'm going to have some of that confidence rub off on me a little bit. And that's going to make Oklahoma better. So I think that's what Oklahoma's been missing. I think he brings all that to the table. Whether you think Oklahoma is going to be a team that challenges for the college football playoff or not, they will not be an easy out, and I can absolutely guarantee you that. Carson Beck, transferring from Georgia to Miami. This time a year ago, what were we all saying around Carson Beck? Hey, one more year in Athens, then he's gone to the league. Georgia, they're a national champion favorite with Carson Beck running the show because he was so good in 2023, right? Well, I think at Miami, he's going to get back to his 2023 ways. Get back to his ways. I couldn't resist it. It was right there. Had to say it. But when you look at what happened last year at Georgia as an offensive system, they were built to be complementary. And then they didn't have the pieces to make them complementary. Didn't have a run game that was Georgia-ish, which we've said ad nauseum here. Didn't have a receiving core that could hang on to the football, led a country in drops. Defense was spotty. So, you're asking Carson Beck to be a product of a complementary offense. And then pretty quickly throughout the course of the season, you saw, hey, we don't have the pieces to make this whole thing work how we want it to. Carson Beck, go win some games for us. And he did that in different points. But I think last year was more so a product of what was around him than his actual skill set. He has some blame. Hear me clearly. Has some blame. Guy's got some faults to him, but I don't think that last year was indicative of how good he's going to be at Miami. Because Miami, the way that offense is built is to freaking sling it. Shannon Dawson has some power run concepts. They want to get north and south. Mario Cristobal is still their head coach, so the offensive line is going to be a physical unit, and they'll want to impose their will, but they want to push the ball downfield and spray it. And I also will say this, I think those weapons are a lot better than people give credit for nationally. Malachi Toney, true freshman wide receiver, people don't know about him. You will this season. Josiah Trader, you will know about him this season. Keelan Marion, going to be a guy for them as well in the pass game, maybe out of the slot a little bit. He's going to be a playmaker. There's some names you don't know about as much, but there's still enough there for Carson Beck to maximize his skill set. I think he gets back to his ways. I think he plays his way back into being a first-round pick, and I think Miami scores a lot of points, and Carson Beck leaves no doubt as he finishes out his college career in the 305. Now, Jackson Arnold making his way out to Auburn, transferring from Oklahoma to Auburn. Here's my expectation for him. My expectation is that Jackson Arnold gives Auburn fans the gift of letting them know they were never insane for expecting the offense to be good under Hugh Freeze. Because I think for the last couple of years, you kind of feel like you got catfished. Hey, where's Neve, man? This cannot actually be the offense that we signed up for. We got an offensive coach in Hugh Freeze now as our head coach. We have a bunch of NFL dudes running around here. We got Jarquez Hunter last year, who was like top 3 in the SEC in rushing. And we can't score over 30 points a game? What's up? What am I missing? I feel like I'm being punked, catfish, whatever you want to say. Why is this not working? Enter into the fold Jackson Arnold. Again, I don't love the equation with the turnovers, but I think his overall talent level and I think the fit for him in this offense with those playmakers, should they have those guys stay healthy, I think you're going to be able to score a lot of points. So I don't know that you're calling Auburn to be a team that goes and wins the SEC or makes the playoff, but I do think they'll be in a territory to score 30 points a game, which would be, I think, refreshing, if nothing else, if you're an Auburn fan. Because you got Singleton, you got Cam Coleman, you got that freshman class of receivers with Cam Coleman that are not going to be sophomores. There's a lot there. There's too much there to not be good offensively, and I think Jackson Arnold gives them that gift in 2025. Now, Joey Aguilar, transferring from App State to UCLA and now to Tennessee, I expect him to make Josh Heupel's drawings right. You know what I'm saying? Like, last year, Nico Iamaleava missed a lot of throws downfield. We've talked about that, more times than I can count on this very show. We've also told you many times, Tennessee wide receiver play has to be better. No way around it. Got to go win your one-on-ones. Got to be available to the quarterback. Like, you got to go make some plays. But in that exact same vein, when you watch back last year, as much as there is to be desired from the Tennessee wide receiving room that's coming back this season, there's still a lot of plays out there just strictly off of who your head coach is and who your play caller is with how he draws it up. So Joey Aguilar, he may not go for 4,000 yards passing and he may not win the Heisman Trophy, but I think with the amount of plays there will be to be had in the pass game, I think his experience playing college football, I think that will lead to some composure. Composure should lead to steady hands when there's plays open downfield, and I think he'll be good enough to get that done for Tennessee. Now, if he cuts down on the turnovers, Tennessee's going to be right back there on the college football playoff conversation, so keep an eye on that. Thomas Castellanos, man. This is a guy, just quite frankly, he's grown on me a lot this offseason. The whole thing at Boston College where he more or less quit on the team didn't resonate all that well, but he's talking his cash to Alabama via the conversation with Pete Nakos. I expect Thomas Castellanos for Florida State just be a shot of caffeine a little bit, man. Like, the energy that he's bringing to this roster from him talking his cash to Alabama. Like, I understand you don't want to give Alabama some extra motivation, but gosh dang it, dude, where was any sign of something like this a season ago? There was no pulse last year for Florida State. It was abysmal. Post-Memphis, you're just like mailing in the rest of the season. There was no fight. There was no energy. There was no drive. Thomas Castellanos, at the very least, will give you that. All right? The other thing that I love is the fact that he fits really well with Gus Malzahn's system. Last year, it just felt like Florida State had no offensive identity. If nothing else, you will know what you are getting from the Florida State offense every single week with Castellanos at quarterback, with Gus Malzahn calling the show. You'll run the football. You'll be downhill. You will operate with a certain level of tempo. And then when defenses overcommit, you'll push the ball downfield. That will be the formula. Last year, you're like, I think we want to run the ball, but like we can't really run the ball that well, and we can't protect DJU, and then guys can't. Like, they were just, you didn't know what you were watching every single week. You'll know this year with Castellanos. He'll give you caffeine, give you identity. Good enough for me in a year where Florida State's just looking to get back to neutral. So take of that as you will. Kaidon Salter, transferring over from Liberty to Colorado. I think he's going to win the job in Boulder, which is why we're having this discussion. My expectation for Kaidon Salter is to keep the fastball for Colorado the fastball. Like, what does that look like from a wins and losses perspective? We have the record prediction for Colorado a little bit later in the show. But Colorado, the last 2 years, have been right around a 30 points a game kind of offense. He's good enough to do that for you. He is. I mean, what he did at Liberty, leading them to a New Year's Six Bowl, he was unconscious that season. Last year, it looked a little bit off. I think he has all the tools to keep this Colorado offense humming at that level. And also, I think there's a lot of weapons for Colorado in a Joe Williams, Omarion Miller on the perimeter for him to be surrounded by enough talent to maximize his skill set in this offense. Also, we should say you're going to have to prep for Colorado in a different way than you were able to before with him playing quarterback. Shedeur Sanders was good with his legs, was a good creator in the pocket, but like Caden Salter, he's not just going to create in the pocket. He'll create and then get north and south and rip you for a double-digit yard gain, maybe more than that, with what you do defensively. So I'm excited to watch him this year. Changes the entire script a little bit for how you prepare for Colorado, and that'll be a good thing. Being tough to guess, I think, is always a good thing offensively in modern college football. Now, Fernando Mendoza, Mr. 98 yards with my boys, transferring over from Cal to Indiana. This is a tough one to evaluate because your immediate reaction is, oh, Kurt Cignetti, I mean, all he does is win and talk trash, and we're here for both of those things. Last year was a movie. They go to the college football playoff. No reason to take a step back, right? If you went and got a good player via the transfer portal and Fernando Mendoza, he should pick up where Curtis Rourke left off, right? Well, yeah, I think Fernando Mendoza should be solid, which isn't really something that clicks all that well. Solid quarterback in Indiana. Doesn't really, get the people that fired up. But we got to understand, this year's schedule is not last year's schedule. You play Illinois, at Iowa, at Oregon, and at Penn State. 4 teams you did not play last year. Okay, so understand, the task ahead of Fernando Mendoza is very different than the task that Curtis Rourke had in front of him. With all that being said, just what I mentioned a moment ago. It's not going to get anybody super excited, but I think Fernando Mendoza will be solid. Was solid at Cal. I mean, as a good skill set, good enough to run that offense, but it's going to be a much more difficult task to recreate what last year was for Indiana here in 2025. Last one to touch on here, Miller Moss. His ceiling is enormously high. Kaidon, producer of the Hard Count, has mentioned this before, and I want to make sure we say it out loud once again. He could be this year's version of what Kyle McCord was a year ago. Spurned by Ohio State, pops up at Syracuse, leads the country in passing. ACC school, fun offense, all those things. Miller Moss, whether you think he was the problem at USC or not, loses his job, pops up at Louisville in a quarterback whisperer in Jeff Brom. I think the expectations for a Miller Moss will be or should be set at over 3,000 yards passing, which is what both Jack Plummer and Tyler Shuck did in their 2 years individually, I guess a year apiece individually at Louisville. And maybe most importantly for the trajectory of Louisville football, I think Miller Moss reemphasizes that Louisville is a quarterback destination in the ACC and in college football, period, because that'd be the third quarterback in a row that Jeff Brom has taken, elevated, had their best season of their college career. Who knows what Miller Moss's NFL prospects are after a season like this, but Tyler Shuck last season was a top 3-round pick after 1 year at Louisville. Bounced around his entire college career, plays 1 year at Louisville, and elevates himself to be a top 3-round NFL draft pick. I think Jeff Brom has some part in that. So Miller Moss, with a year like I'm telling you, I think he could have over 3,000 yards. That positions Louisville to be in a good spot to make another recruiting pitch to future transfer portal quarterbacks. And if you have a quarterback in modern college football, you will always have a chance. If you have a quarterback in modern college football in the ACC, you should feel pretty confident about your chances to compete for an ACC championship. Just kind of the lay of the land right now. So those are our expectations for our transfer portal quarterbacks. Let me know your thoughts, your pushback, your concerns, your agreeances. And, man, we cannot wait for the season to happen, dude. It's just talking season is upon us, and we appreciate talking season, but we're ready for actual games to happen, man. Cannot wait for that.